Alright, it is time to rip the band-aid off. It is time to discuss it. What am I talking about? I am talking about the Ireland Heritage Travel Trip. Heritage Travel Trip. Alright, so I went to Scotland in 2019, and when I was in Scotland, I bought my ticket to Ireland for the following year, May to June 2020, and then the COVID-19 pandemic hit, and Ireland was in lockdown, and so I couldn't go. I got a travel voucher that is good through the end of May 2023, so I have over a year left to use the travel voucher with the airline that I bought the ticket with. So I'm going to revisit this now, and it's bigger than, I guess, just this trip, because the heritage travel trips that I'm doing, it's a series of trips. For those who've already seen some of these videos, this is kind of it's a refresher, I guess, in the sense of I guess there's a decision to be made here about Ireland, but also retouching on the overarching kind of series. So there's 8 countries that my ancestors are from more than 8 countries, but these were like the first 8, kind of the 8 I was raised with. I'm familiar with enough on heritage and documentation that I'm like, okay. In 2018, I bought my first ticket to go to Scotland, and I came up with a list of kind of criteria. I did not anticipate kind of some of the life situations that I'm in now, nor the COVID-19 pandemic when it hit, that kind of stuff. So, like, the biggest thing that got hit in all of this, I had a list of criteria. The one that has been affected is 1 to 2 years, one trip. So like one trip. So this is one trip every 1 to 2 years. So my last trip was in 2019. So in July 2019, I went to Scotland. So if I wanted to hit this 1 to 2 year window, I would have needed to have gotten to Ireland by 2021. Until we're in 2022 and coming up on 3 years. So this is the criteria that has been, we'll say, most impacted as of current for how I define this series of 8 trips to the lands of my ancestors. And so what's the dealio? Am I going? Am I not going? I still got over a year left on this travel voucher, that kind of stuff. Well, I don't know. I was thinking about it, and so I guess I came up with this list of criteria, and the one that's been affected is the 1 to 2 years thing, most predominantly at the moment. And so I need to assess, what am I going to do? Right, that was my guiding criteria for the timing of these 8 trips. So I need to think of something. And I have nothing. And so there's a bit of looking at my travel voucher. I think the way there's a lot of, so the COVID-19 pandemic, COVID-19, the virus is still around and kind of resurging and stuff. And so there's a little bit of just like, and Ireland is very much a stickler for keeping its citizens safe and healthy, a little kind of like, and keep like limiting activity and travel within the country to like 5 kilometers, which is just over 3 miles and stuff like that. And the United States is kind of more like, go out and do what you want. So there's a bit of like, well, I might be able to go out and do stuff here that doesn't necessarily translate to Ireland. So I guess there's that. There's airline travel disruption due to political unrest in the world. There's, I don't know if there, part of the reason I bought the ticket to Ireland when I did was there was a ceasefire between Ireland and Northern Ireland. So I don't actually know like if I will even get into the country with like the airline. Ireland is notorious for the infighting in the country. So like, I don't, there's that reality to deal with, but I bought the ticket strategically in time because I was like, I don't know if when this ceasefire will end and that kind of thing. So what am I going to do? I guess, so I'm thinking of no Icelandair. For my Ireland trip. And what do I mean by that? Is like, so Iceland is boycotting Russian aircraft from being in its airspace, and these heritage travel trips are about visiting my ancestors. So why am I bringing that up? Because Iceland, a quick history lesson is the Vikings come from certain regions of Nordic countries, not all Nordic countries and not all regions of Nordic countries. So like my ancestors are from Fjordalands and north of Norway, and Vikings did not come from there. So growing up, I received a lot of racist comments and an ethnicist comments about, oh, you're a Viking or you're descended from Vikings. And I'm like, no, that's actually not at all right. You're racist. But like, you know, a lot of people don't care about European history and getting like ethnic and racial comments. Like, it's racism to call all Nordic people Vikings or their ancestors Vikings. And so I'm going to, I have zero ancestry to Iceland. I have ancestry to Ireland, and Iceland is notorious for its traumatizing Ireland in the past in the form of Vikings. So should I even be taking Icelandair? Like, they're boycotting Russia, and it's kind of like, well, technically, an aircraft, so this is where it kind of comes, is like, if we're going to look at this business model, this is an aircraft claiming to be an Icelandair when they're in Ireland, so they're trying to resurrect or reintroduce this trauma they inflicted in Ireland in the past. Is it even, like, ethical for them to be flying there? I mean, they can pass judgment all they want on Russia, but their transgressions continue to this day. Do I want to propagate those transactions into the present? And I'm like, no, I don't. I choose to support the land of my ancestors in my ancestry and who I am, because I'm Irish, part Irish, into the present. And so I'm just like, you know what? No Icelandair for my Ireland trip. And so what does that really mean for this series of trips that I'm operating? So in series means one after another. So by putting a hold on my second trip, the Ireland trip, that creates a logjam and a hold for everything else that follows after. So what does that really mean? Indefinite hold on my Ireland travel trip, and consequently the rest of my heritage travel trips. So this video will go into my Ireland playlists, heritage travel trip playlists. There's a few of those, and then the other trips that have yet to kind of happen. Yeah, so that's my thinking is, well, shouldn't we be supporting peace, not propagating selective oppression of peoples and resurrecting or reintroducing traumas from the past, which is what Iceland is doing via Icelandair. Yeah, so by passing judgment on Russia, it's kind of an interesting situation because clearly they don't support peace. They just want to inflict, continue traumatizing certain peoples according to their worldview, kind of thing. So no Icelandair for my Ireland trip, and this is all on indefinite hold. Don't know if or when it'll happen, nor what the new rules will be. Right? I've got to look at one of my rules. I need to the one trip every 1 to 2 years. So that's the last thing. Since it's on indefinite hold, let's rephrase this. I can, since on indefinite hold, however long this is, and if/when this heritage travel trip series, I'm able to kind of rejuvenate it and get it going again. Rejuvenated series, using this time to rethink and I don't know what a good word is, to refined guiding principles so that they reflect this change of it is no longer possible for me to execute the initial plan of one trip every 1 to 2 years because that time window has passed. That's just the reality of it. So that's it. Rejuvenating the series if/when that comes around.